Phase 1 was a total sweep. The system was shook. Ambrose's affection score for me hit 80 before he could even form a complete sentence. I wasn't surprised. He was a toddler. The person who feeds you, holds you, and chases away the monsters is their whole world. That's just biology. Ambrose didn't understand the complexities of love yet, but he knew the drill. Whenever I walked into the room, his little arm shot up, the universal toddler signal for pick me up, and he'd hit me with a gummy, drool-heavy grin. Every time this happened, the system spiraled. Calculation error. This shouldn't be possible. Is this a loophole? Can we actually do this? I ignored its existential crisis. I stood in the lobby of the newly renovated Haven, scanning the fresh paint and sturdy furniture. Efficiency is good, I said. Now, we need to talk about education. The local public schools are zoned terribly. I need to know if we can get accreditation for an on-site charter. I scrolled through the state regulations on the virtual interface. We could run our own school, but the Haven wasn't qualified yet. I had more hoops to jump through. The system stayed silent. It didn't speak bureaucracy. Because I'd grabbed him straight from the hospital, Ambrose was thriving. No malnutrition, and his health was finally stable. By the time he turned 3, he was running laps around the common room and calling me Clem in a voice that could melt steel. One afternoon, little Ambrose looked up from his coloring book. Clem? What does my name mean? I pulled him into my lap. I had to explain his origins without traumatizing him. You were born on a snowy day, I told him. And your mother, she picked Ambrose because it sounds strong. And she loved cranes, birds that represent eternity. He was too young to grasp death or abandonment, and I wasn't about to strip away the only connection he had to his birth mother. Ambrose blinked, processing. My name is Strong. And Mom, she liked me. Yes, I said, smoothing his hair. She loved you very much. His face lit up, that goofy, pure smile returning. Later, while I was teaching Ambrose how to write the letter, I pinged the system. Hey, there are different models of you guys, right? It paused, thinking. I guess we're all strategy systems. But do you have colleagues? I asked. Friends. I do, but I don't have a name. Do they? They named themselves, the system said, sounding a little wistful. My friend who handles medical dramas calls himself Doc. There's Gavel for the legal thrillers, Mercy for the healing arcs, and Prof for the academic ones. So why don't you pick one? I asked. Why be just system? It hesitated. Some of the other units said it was unprofessional. They said if we pick names, we get distracted from the mission. You can multitask, I said. We're running a facility and rewriting a villain's tragic backstory. I think you've earned a handle. Really? The voice modulated, sounding excited. I can pick one? Go for it, I said softly. I want to help you run this place. I want my voice to reach you. It paused. I want to be called Echo. I smiled. Echo. I like it. It went quiet for a long time. I'm pretty sure it logged off to go brag to its friends. Launch day at the Haven. I stood at the door with Ambrose, ready to welcome the new intake. The plot has its own gravity. Sure enough, Violet walked in. According to the original file, she was Ambrose's childhood friend, and eventually, the first love who turns into the classic, vicious antagonist. Her backstory was a tragedy. Parents killed in a car crash. In the original timeline, she was adopted at 8 by a couple who moved her overseas. That family twisted a sweet girl into a monster. I'd reviewed that couple's file. Massive red flags. They never should have cleared the background check. Regulatory failure. Again. I looked at the trembling girl in front of me. I dropped to one knee, bringing myself to her eye level. Hey, Violet, I said softly. You're safe here. This is your home now. She stared at me, eyes wide and glassy. Kids are human lie detectors. She was searching for a threat. Finding none, she slowly reached out a chubby, hesitant hand and gripped my pinky finger. Tear tracks still stained her cheeks. I pulled her into a hug, slipped a lollipop into her hand, and watched the tension bleed out of her frame. Clem, she whispered, testing the word. Then a small, shy smile broke through. Ambrose, meanwhile, was taking his job very seriously. He was 3 years old, but he marched around with the gravitas of a 10-year-old prefect. He was the Haven's veteran, and he wasn't going to let me down. I watched him weave through the group of terrified kids. He patted a crying boy on the back. He shared his stash of snacks. I heard him piping up in his little voice, balling his hand into a fist. I promise, this place is the best. The food is good and Clem is nice. I couldn't help but smile. Nap time. The house finally went quiet. Well, almost. Ambrose was buzzing with adrenaline. He wiggled over to my side of the mat, whispering loudly. Clem, did you see the new boy? Zane? He's my favorite. He's so cool. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. Is that so? Zane. Why did that name ring a bell? I glanced across the room at the sleeping boy with the large, dark birthmark covering half his face. Then it clicked. Zane, the future underworld kingpin. Ambrose's mortal enemy. I rubbed my temples. Great. I need to update the curriculum. We're starting Criminal Law 101 tomorrow. Right now, Zane was just a frightened kid who kept his head down. His file was brutal. Abandoned by his biological parents because of the birthmark and a diagnosis of cognitive delays. They threw him away like broken furniture. My eyes narrowed. Child abandonment isn't just cruel. It's a felony. I looked at Zane. He was shrinking into himself, shoulders hunched, trying to take up as little space as possible. I pulled Ambrose close. He was already tearing up. He'd heard my thoughts. That was the burden of his gift. He felt the echoes of everyone anyone else's pain. Clem, he mumbled, voice thick with misery. Did Zane's mom and dad throw him away? Ambrose and I had a deal. A pinky promise. The mind reading was our secret. I crouched down, gripping Ambrose's shoulders. What his parents did is wrong, I said, my voice firm. It's against the law. In the real world, people go to jail for that. Ambrose blinked, processing the concept of justice. I want to be his friend. Then go, I said. Take him to the garden. The seesaw doesn't work with just one person. His eyes lit up, then dimmed just as fast. But it's nap time. Special exception, I whispered, tapping his nose. We are Zane's family now. I want to see him smile. Can you handle that mission? Ambrose puffed out his chest. Yes. I opened the back door and waved them through. Two small figures sprinted into the sunlight, their giggles swallowed by the wind. I walked back into the sleeping quarters. Silence. But the air felt charged. I scanned the room. Every single head was buried in a pillow, but nobody was sleeping. I smiled. Everyone having trouble sleeping? Heads popped up like meerkats. Violet sat up, clutching her blanket. She pointed a chubby finger toward the window. I want to play with Clem, she chirped. Okay, I said, unable to hide my smile. Garden time. But this is a one-time offer. Don't get used to it. Yay! The room exploded. The tension vanished as the kids scrambled off their mats, rushing past me like a flock of birds released from a cage. I strolled into the yard, watching the chaos from the porch. Echo buzzed in my ear. Host, their affection scores are skyrocketing. I've never seen numbers climb this fast. It's illogical. You know the fable of the genie in the bottle? I asked. I watched Ambrose pull Zane onto the seesaw. For the first 100 years, the genie swore to make his rescuer a king. For the second 100, he promised infinite power and wealth. But by the 3rd century, he vowed to kill whoever let him out, because the fisherman came too late. I have that file in my database. Echo beep. Love works the same way, I said, my voice flat. It's a transaction. Input affection, output loyalty. But timing is everything. I watched Violet chasing a butterfly laughing. If I showed up when Ambrose was 15, I'd be nothing. I couldn't compete with the bond he had with Violet from growing up together. I'd just be another face in the crowd. But now, I'm the baseline. I'm the one who opened the bottle before the genie went mad.